Hello and welcome to Picture Book Cooking. My name is Caitlyn and I'm the youth librarian here at Central. So for today's program, I'm going to share some great picture books with you and also share a fun recipe that you can cook at home with your children. So today we are talking about pizza. So pizza is a really fun and versatile recipe that you can make at home. Today I'll share a simple dough recipe with you that doesn't require any rise time, making it fast enough for the weeknight. And also I'll be sharing some of my favorite toppings to put on pizza. So it's a great way to get your kids involved in the cooking process. They can definitely help you measure out the flour and the seasoning for the dough. They can also tear up their ingredients. They can shred the cheese, and they can also get in the dough and just kind of knead it together and get those fingers working as well. So before we get to our recipe, we're going to talk about a few of my favorite books about pizza. So the first one is called 𝒑𝒊𝒛𝒛𝒂 by William Steig. And this one is great for toddlers and preschool. So in it, Pete is having not a great day, so his parents decide to pretend that he's a pizza. And so they toss him and turn him, sprinkle some pepperonis on him, and then in the end, he ends up cheered up and can go about his day. And it's just a really cute story. The next one I have is called Every Night is Pizza Night by 𝒂𝐁𝐨𝐬𝐬. And Mr. Lopez-Alt is actually a chef with Serious Eats. So there is a pizza recipe included in this book. But this is a great one for preschool and early elementary. In it, the main character is absolutely in love with pizza and she does not like to eat anything else. But as she goes through the book, she finds other types of foods that are just as good as pizza. So it's a great book to discuss your favorite foods, maybe some foods that your kids might not like as much, and then this also encourages them to try new foods. The next one I have is Secret Pizza Party by Adam Rubin. This one is great for early elementary. It's got a lot of fun jokes in the background of the pictures. And it's all about a raccoon who is just trying to get his hands on some pizza. And it is super funny. The next one I have is Hi, Mr. Pizza Man by Virginia Walter. And this is great for toddlers. It has a kind of a peekaboo aspect because they're trying to figure out who is going to be at the door. Is it going to be a pizza man? But what if it's not a pizza man? What if it's a pizza woman? Or what if it's a pizza kitty? So your child can go through and they can say the words of what they would say to the pizza person as they deliver the pizza. So that one's very fun. The last one I have is A Pizza with Everything on It by 𝒑𝒊𝒛𝒂. And this one is great for early elementary and preschool. It's a little weird, a little different. So this main character wants a pizza with literally everything on it. And when he says everything, he means everything. And eventually they put so much stuff on this pizza that they eventually turn the whole world into pizza. So it's just a very fun read. The illustrations are great and it's a little zany and perfect for that age group. All right, so stay tuned and we'll get cooking some pizza. All right, welcome back. So today we are making pizza. So this recipe is very simple. For the dough, you'll just need 2.5 cups of bread flour, which will give it a nice chewy texture. You'll need 2 tablespoons of olive oil. You'll need 1 packet of yeast, or if you have a big jar of yeast, it's 2 1/4 teaspoons. You'll need a teaspoon each of garlic powder, salt, and Italian seasoning, and then a teaspoon of sugar as well. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to bloom our yeast. So just some fun yeast facts. Yeast needs warmth, moisture, and food in order to activate. So we are going to provide the moisture and warmth with some warm water. So you'll need a cup of that, about 110 degrees. So it shouldn't be too hot that you can't put your hand under the faucet for too long. It should just be a little more than lukewarm perhaps. So we'll be adding that, and then we'll also be adding the sugar, and that'll give something for the yeast to eat. And as the yeast eats that, it's going to release carbon dioxide, and that is going to make our baked goods rise. So just some fun yeast facts for you. So as you are getting ready to make your dough, we'll bloom the yeast first. So we're going to add 1 cup of warm water, about 110 degrees. We're going to add our teaspoon of sugar. And then 2 1/4 teaspoons or 1 packet of the instant yeast. Just give it a quick stir, and then you're just going to let it set for 10 minutes until it starts looking a little frothy and creamy. All right, so now our yeast has bloomed. You can see it's kind of gotten a little creamy on top there, so we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. So this is definitely where you can get your kids involved, and if they're a little bit older and have started learning fractions in school, a real fun way to get them involved with that is to give them a smaller scoop than what the recipe calls for. So if we need 2 1/2 cups of bread flour, you could give them a 1/2 cup scoop and ask them how many scoops they'll need to reach 2 1/2. So that also shows them the real world applications of what they're learning in school, which is kind of neat. So we'll go ahead and add our 2 1/2 cups of bread flour to our mix. Of course, we're going to get flour everywhere. That's always how it goes. And when you do this, you want to make sure that you level the top of it so you get a nice even scoop. Right, and at this point, we'll add the rest of our ingredients for our dough. So we need 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Go ahead and add that. We'll need just a teaspoon each of all of our other seasonings here. So we've got garlic powder, Italian seasoning, and salt. And since this crust doesn't require any time to rise, it kind of reminds me of those Betty Crocker pizza crusts that you get in a little red package at the grocery store. It kind of reminds me of that and has that same kind of texture. All right, and then we'll mix it all up. And since there's so little water in here, it will be pretty hard to mix here at the end. So once you've got it as mixed as you can get it, you may still have some bigger pieces in the bowl that you'll need to incorporate, so then you can just get your hands in there and knead it all together. And the kids can definitely help with this part. Make sure that it's all incorporated, everything is mixed in well, and you want to just keep kneading it until it's somewhat smooth. And then eventually, you'll get a little ball of dough. It'll look something like that. And it's not going to be too sticky since it's not a very wet dough. Just make sure that there's no hard bits in there. It's all incorporated, nice and smooth. And then once you've done that and your dough is all together in a nice little ball, you're just gonna set it aside and let it rest for about 5 minutes, and this is just gonna let it loosen up. And for my dough, I'm actually going to make 2 different pizzas. Since my oven is so small, I'm working with a little toaster oven rather than a full-size oven. So these are my baking sheets. So this recipe can make one big 14-inch pizza, depending on how thinly you stretch your dough, or you can make 2 different pizzas. All right, so we'll let that rest, and then you'll get your baking sheets, and you're gonna wanna just spread some olive oil on them, so that way your pizza doesn't stick. Just give it a good spread around. So it's all nice and coated, and then we'll check back once our dough has rested. All right, our dough has rested, so I am going to split it into 2 somewhat equal halves. And then what you'll do is you'll just put it directly on your baking sheet and just start spreading it out. And you can flip it over a few times to coat it in the olive oil, and this will just help it spread. And then you can make your crust as thin or as thick as you like it. Just be aware, the thicker the crust, obviously the longer it'll take to cook. And also, you want to make sure that you don't overload your pizza with too many toppings. That's always my problem, because then it could get soggy. So you can turn it over a few times until you get, in my case, I'm going to make a square since that's the shape of my baking sheet. So you get a pretty big square, and I can almost fill up this entire baking sheet as well. You just want to make sure that there's no holes in it, no tears or thin spots, and then you've got it all nice and spread out. So for my pizza today, I am going to make a barbecue chicken pizza. It's one of my favorites. You can use any kind of barbecue sauce that you like. So you'll just take your barbecue sauce and spread a thin layer over it. And then while you're doing all of this, just make sure that your oven is preheated to 450. And then for the barbecue chicken pizza, you'll just take some cooked chicken and put it on top. Just make sure it's pretty finely chopped. Sprinkle that right on top. And for my veggies, I like to do red onion and hot banana peppers. So obviously, if you're cooking for small children, they may be more sensitive to hot items, so you can do something a little more mild, like a mild banana pepper, or some green peppers would be a good option too. And some banana peppers on there. And for the cheese, you can't really beat just plain old mozzarella, and we'll also do a little bit of Parmesan on there as well. Usually about 2/3 to 3/4 cup of cheese is plenty. Again, you don't want to overload it too much. It'll make your crust soggy. Just a little Parmesan. And of course, you can use whatever cheese that you like. Definitely get creative. Have your child experiment with different types of toppings. See what they like best. And if you make 2 different pizza doughs, if you split it in half, this will only take about 15 minutes to bake at 450. If you do the bigger pizza version, so all of the dough, it'll probably take more like 20 to 22 minutes. So we'll just put it in here and check back in 15 minutes. All right, and there is our pizza. So as you can see, the dough rose a little bit in the oven. So now we'll have to let it cool for 5 minutes before we can eat it. but that is my recipe for barbecue chicken pizza. Thank you so much for joining me today for Picture Book Cooking. Again, my name is Caitlin and I'm the youth librarian here at Central. We do have upcoming programs. We've got a regular dance party Wednesday mornings at 10, as well as a regular story time for toddlers ages 2 to 5 Thursdays at 10, and then a baby and me for ages 0 to 24 months Fridays at 10. Thank you and have a good day.